Hi guys.
Hi
It
guys.
is Daniel
And Demarcus.
and welcome to another beautiful, lovely, real episode of Being for
Before
Real.
real.
So, long story short, we are not going to be hosting this episode.
No.
We're not. So,
No.
real quick, we are going to have the incomparable Kayla Gore,
Mm-hmm.
the electrifying Jasmine Tasaki,
Yeah.
the dynamic Lena Chipman, and the oh so effervescent. Y'all like them SAT words? Like,
Baby, okay.
But we are going to have these four phenomenal women host this episode because November is amongst us.
Yes. So, of course, if you did not know, November marks Trans Awareness Week. Of course, this week is sponsored by so many different organizations from We Care Tennessee, Out Memphis,
My Sister's
My
House.
Sister's House, and so many others. And so we just wanted to take space to not only let our trans sisters and brothers and siblings have the platform that they're so deserved.
We're going to turn this episode over and we are going to let our sisters take over because they are the experts when it comes to this. So, with that,
Be prepared for some good information, some laughs,
and a kiki.
and a key.
Yeah, so we all know each other, but none of these people know who I am, probably. So, hi, my name is Lena Chipman. My pronouns are they and she, and I'm a professional problem and problem solver. But more importantly than that, I am the person who runs the trans community dinners that happen every month. I also help out wherever I can in different communities, and I'm also a candidate for County Commission District 13. So if elected, I would be the second trans person elected anywhere in the state of Tennessee, the first one elected anywhere in West Tennessee.
Awesome, thank you. I'll go next. Kayla Gore. My pronouns are she and her. I'm new to the area. I founded an organization called My Sister's House and the Tiny House Project, where we build tiny homes for trans, non-binary, and cis folks in South Memphis, Orange Mound, Fraser. Yeah, I'm gonna pass it to Tamesha.
Hi, I'm Tamesha K. I'm the trans service manager at Out Memphis. My pronouns are she, her, and hers. Where we provide wraparound services at Out Memphis, such as shower ups, our artistic program, and also food pantry, clothing closet, you name it, we got it. And I'm gonna kick it off to Jasmine.
Hey everybody, I'm Jasmine Tasaki, founder and executive director of We Care Tennessee here in Memphis, Tennessee. We are an organization that specifically supports Black transgender women who do sex work and use drugs in the communities around them. We do that through life skills programs. We also have needle exchange programs. And we also provide services like a clothing closet. And we pretty much fill in the gaps for organizations where they cannot serve a need that we have identified the need exists. And I'm happy to be here. Thank you.
All right, so today's episode is titled Protect the Dolls. And you have four beautiful dolls here. And we're going to talk about various issues that, revolve around our communities like leadership, political climate, community, self-care, and upcoming events. So first we want to start out by basically talking about how we came together for this podcast with the headliners, maybe even talking a little bit about the history of our organizing together with the headliners and some of the honorary founding members of the headliners here in Memphis. Jasmine, you want to start us off?
So we all love the Double D's, right? Daniel and DeMarcus. And I know that we, as Kayla has said, have been a part of that founding body of the headliners. We did some amazing things with the headliners. Every year, the Trans Girls Rock Awards is just an amazing night and opportunity to honor trans individuals in the community. So I think that is something that always makes my heart warm to see that event happen. And from there, I think there's just a camaraderie of how we work together. Lena has come into the fold to start working with us, and it's just been an amazing honor to have someone to come in and support and just say, you know what, I trust your leadership, because that's so important right now, right? That we trust Black women in leadership. And I trust these ladies that are on this panel today and love working with y'all. And I think that today was just like a natural progression because of us riding off at the high of the Southern Trans celebration. So for me, just being here today is an affirmation of the work we've done and also a testament to the sisterhood that we have among each other.
Awesome. All right. So, what does effective and intentional collaboration look like with you about to run for an office here to represent a community here in Memphis on a state level? What does that look like, and what do you think it'll look like if you're elected?
Yeah. So I'd say one of the most important things that those of us who have privilege, right, we need to be using that privilege to uplift and help other people, right? Like that is the most important thing to be doing right now. As Jasmine said, right, trust Black women to lead, right? Like this is work that I'm kind of coming into this space, right? I came out only almost about 5 years ago at this point, right? And then was looking around like, how can I help, right? But I don't want to be the person, the stereotypical white socialist girl who shows up and is really excited and talks over everybody, right? It's important to make sure that we're using our privilege to help other people, right? And so so I'm going to manifest, when I'm elected to the county commission, to District 13, to really build that trans and queer representation, a lot of that is really trying to make sure that those voices that are not heard are being centered, right? To make sure that we're taking privilege and we're transferring it into shared prosperity for everybody, right? We want to make sure that everyone has an opportunity, and the voices who are the ones that are least heard are the ones that are heard the most, right? And District 13 historically has had a lot of, let's be honest, very white representation, very upper middle class representation. But if you look at the structure of that district, right, there are significant parts of that, like areas north of Summer near 240, for example, that are very economically disadvantaged, right? There are parts of the Cooper Young area, there are parts of the Union area that are economically disadvantaged. And I know personally people who are trans who have suffered from all of that. So it's really important to center those voices, right? And make sure that representing everyone, making sure everyone is benefiting from that shared prosperity that we're trying to build. So that would be to everyone in the audience. That's the important thing. If you have the privilege and you have the ability to support other people, not step in front of them, but stand beside them, link arms, build that solidarity, because that's really the important thing. It's with that solidarity that we make real change, and we can really turn around what's been going wrong, right? And build a better society for everybody.
Awesome. Yeah, you've come into the community in the last 5 years, and I've seen you with a lot of different organizations, volunteering and supporting in ways that you can. So the next question is going to go to you, Tamesha, because Lena's basically led us into this question about using your privilege to make people's lives better than your own. And you work at the largest LGBT community center here in the South, maybe in the state of Tennessee, out Memphis. So you have a better perception of what it looks like to be trans in the South, or not personally you, but the people that you serve, because you serve the bulk of the community, not just trans folks, not just non-binary people, but gay and lesbian folks as well, and even intersex people. So what does it look like to be trans in the South, especially here in Memphis?
It appears to be very shady. The trans people are not being seen. They are being overlooked as far as like simple things like a name change, passport privileges, small things down to like daily essentials of like not having a food pantry, clothing closet, not being able to access those things that are daily essentials, like I said. So being there to see that and able to be there to help out is very impactful though.
Yeah, I agree. Like, I think all of us, when we created our organizations, we thought about the whole person and not just what Granters said is important and what the health department said was important, but taking a shower is also important. Having a place to store your things. So the next question is for you, Jasmine. Why did you create We Care Tennessee? Why did you create your organization here in the city of Memphis when you could have did it anywhere, but you chose here?
I just spoke with Tamesha about this yesterday, and the question is really layered because there are many reasons, right? But the need, the need was created because I was a person that did sex work and I got a job at a community-based organization, and my life changed, and I was assimilated to being paid once monthly and to serve my community. And then I was fired. And when I had to go back to sex work, I really felt empty. And I felt like I had given myself to a job or a role of service, and that particular community did not pour back into me in the same way. And I never wanted anybody to feel like that again. So We Care Tennessee was actually birthed out of the need for me to create a space for people who do sex work that found themselves wanting to leave that field and go into a more traditional setting of work. I didn't want those ladies to not have what they needed when they go into those spaces. And I also wanted them to know that if they wanted to coexist, that could be possible as well. So I saw a need for Black transgender women who not only did sex work, but who used drugs to feel seen and to feel valued beyond just one role, but to go in many spaces and be whoever they envision themselves to be.
So again, like looking at the holistic person, not just like, oh, you know what, you're a trans person. We have this social support group. You'll fit into that.
Right.
But actually thinking about how these people could evolve into whatever they want to be. Kind of like the caterpillar to the butterfly thing, where they evolve into this beautiful specimen that was once viewed as, dangerous or ugly or keep it away. And speaking of that, for folks who are viewing us who may be trans, who may be trans youth or trans elder even, what is, how important is community? And this is a question for all of us. Who wants to go first?
I would like for you to tell us how important community is to you, and then we'll feed off that. You haven't had an opportunity to answer a question,
Well,
Miss Gore.
As a cis woman, I was trying to give you all space. But since you offered, I will take up all the space because us cis people do.
Yes.
Is take up all the space. So I think what community looks like to me is being able to commune together in a space. And a lot of times, especially in the South, we don't have those spaces. You know that, you know that. I don't know if you know that. Do you know that?
I know that, yeah.
Okay, I'm just joking.
I know.
But no, we don't get that opportunity to do that unless we've created it ourselves. Or the people with the powers to be say, you know what? I think these people are worthy of this space being created for them. So we'll throw a few measly dollars at them. Because that's what, when I got introduced to the advocacy world and public health, that's what it was about. It was really like, we just need a figurehead, somebody who can lead this work, who looks like the people that we want to attract to this work. But it wasn't intentional. So when I create community, I'm thinking about everything. Like, people come into the support group, I'm gonna make sure they got access to testing. I'm gonna make sure they got access to food, make sure they got access to housing if it's available. But thinking about all of these different things, even though the funders are like, actually, we just want you to have a group so people can stay connected. And that's a small part of community. But the biggest part of community is being able to have resources and enough resources to share with each other. That's my little spiel. But like I said, I'm going to step back because, I don't want to take up too much space as a cis-bodied woman. So, Jasmine, how important is community to you?
To me, and it's actually going off of what you said. I love how you said that we create these safe spaces and our intention is to have resources that are accessible for those in the community, right? But I think the biggest thing for me in community is joy and knowing that you are seen, that you are valued, and that you are heard. So many times we get in spaces that we call community, but we may not feel seen, we may not feel valued, we may not feel heard. So my intention has always been to create a space where everybody feels seen, everybody feels valued, and everyone feels heard. And that comes from a lot of asking questions and listening to folks, right? But I think that is the sweet spot where we do this work to advance our community forward, right? But we forget to tap into the joy that we actually experience along the way. So many of my greatest friendships have been birthed out of meeting other people that do organizing work in our community. And I always try to create space where people can create authentic relationships and nurture those relationships so that they can not only move forward in their professional dreams and aspirations, but also in their personal relationships, because that's the true way that we can get to collective liberation.
I agree. I completely agree. You got to think about the whole person. So, Lena, you want to add to that, or is like a new question?
No, I'd love to add to that. So one of the things that I noticed in volunteering with a bunch of organizations, right, is kind of two things. One is I agree with you, Jasmine. A lot of times there's a lot less focus on the joy and on being you and authentically you in a space where you feel comfortable to be that. I think a lot of people get hung up on wanting to solve all the problems at once, right? And then that leads to burnout, and that leads to people being unhappy. I think all of us can commiserate with that, right? And so, when I look at that too, one of the things I noticed that there's kind of like call it a trans diaspora, right? Like there's a number of different groups that are all kind of disconnected from each other, right? And that is really challenging in terms of people making those kind of real connections with each other, building those friendships that ultimately produce those strong relationships, that solidarity and the collective liberation, right? So a lot of that is why some of the things I've been focused on really outside of the political sphere have been things like the Trans Splash Pad Party and the community dinners, to try to give people places where they can just be, right? Like, and just hang out. Because, a lot of times, people say, oh, well, you can go hang out. You can go hang out at the pump. You can go hang out at Drew's. Well, if you're a newly out trans person, you're probably not going to be super comfortable hanging out at the pump or hanging out at Drew's, right? We have people who go to the community dinners who are not out yet, right? They're still questioning. They're not sure what they are from a gender perspective, and they're still trying to figure it out. And it's a safe space where they can go meet other people, right? And they can talk about things like, where do you get HRT, for example? What is a good dosage for HRT? What are good levels for it? These sorts of things that we have all learned through our experiences that not everybody knows, and you can't necessarily get the right information going on to Reddit, for example, which will tell you all kinds of crazy things. So I think it's through building those spaces where people can freely be themselves, where we can really freely be ourselves, that we can really build that solidarity that we really need in order to be successful in advancing the cause of liberation for everybody.
Yeah, I agree. A lot of us kind of go into this work and we want to solve the problems, we want to solve the issues of our community, but we do sometimes suddenly forget that there are moments of joy. They might be brief and few in between, but there are moments that we do get to celebrate, like the splash parties, the community dinners, the legacy awards that's coming up. So we've talked a little bit about joy. We've talked about like creating spaces that benefits the community in a different way than typical social services do. Because we're not typical people. What are some of the challenges that each of you have faced? And I'll chime in as well. But what are some of the challenges that you faced doing your advocacy work, doing your political work? I know you're fresh and new into it. But what are some challenges that you faced? And we'll start with you, Tamesha.
Well, thank you, Kayla. Some of the challenges that I faced, very simple down to I start with our name changes. Coming in with another trans individual coming to do a name change, you get those stares from the city clerk people, as they want you to turn around and get discouraged. So they ask you all these type of questions. Do you have this? Do you have that? And so the first time we did it, two of our people didn't have what they needed. And so from that moment on, I decided we would start doing our pre-gaming of the paperwork at the office. We would go over everything, make sure we got all our checks dotted. Checked, our T's crossed, our I's dotted. And so that when we get there to the courthouse, you won't be able to turn around. You won't be turned around, and that way you can have that trans joy, that little piece of happiness though. And to see that fully happen though, the community members, they want to give you a hug, and that's they can feel happy though. So that's a challenge. That's just one of the small challenges that I faced, amongst many others though. I would say that, but yeah.
Yeah, but getting your name changed, some people look at it, if you're not a trans person or or non-binary person who is always having to present their ID with a name or a gender marker that doesn't match how they show up physically, it is kind of hard. It's kind of deterring for a lot of people to access things like employment, education, housing, whatever it is. They would rather not have to present identification that doesn't represent who they are. And being a part of that process, it's I think it's monumental. Some people are like, oh, it's just a name change. No, it's literally you're changing somebody's life and their livelihood.
Yes, everything.
Like, it's not the first step to transness, but it's one of the main steps that a lot of people are not afforded the opportunity to for many different reasons. Like, you could be convicted of a felony, you could be on the sex offender registry. They could ask you questions at your hearing and say, well, are you doing this to, evade something or commit fraud? And it's at the judge's discretion whether or not they will change your name. And I've seen people to go before the judge and be completely denied, and then they're devastated.
Yes.
But we're grateful that you all are doing that work because it's really critical and crucial. So when they come to us, they on the right path. They're on the right path, and it's easier for us to be able to get them connected to other organizations, and then that organization respects them wholly, because a lot of organizations will only go by what's legally presented to them. All right, so we talked about joy. What are some of the challenges you faced over the years, not just with We Care Tennessee, but with your previous organizing, anything that you're doing nationally? Just give the folks here in Memphis a little bit in depth of what it looks like, not just on a local level, but on a national level as well, for a Black trans woman from the South who is doing crucial work.
I think the biggest challenge for me that I face is people not trusting Black women in leadership. Oftentimes, those who are meant to support us and help us thrive in our leadership are not often our supporters. And it has been proven that we are critiqued the most, and we are, quite frankly, feared the most. It's not so much that people just do not believe in our leadership as much as they fear our leadership and what kind of transformational change can happen within that leadership or under that leadership or beside that leadership. So that's the biggest challenge that I have faced. I continue to navigate those spaces day to day and try to do that with grace, but it makes the role of leadership or leader so tumultuous. I think that we don't honestly acknowledge the sacrifice that people make to do the work that we do. And it is a selfless choice that often comes with a lot of punishment, specifically from our community that we serve, because what we do is almost never good enough. And we're always being held to a standard that people cannot meet themselves. So for me, that is actually the biggest challenge, because doing this work under this current administration, we've had a lot of shitty presidents. So this isn't the first time that we've had to navigate in this way. I think it's actually harder for me now because the administration is peeling back layers and revealing people for who they really are. And that is more of a shock than the actual legislation that has come against us, in my opinion.
Yeah, I think that's a good opinion. And something that stuck out for me was fear, the word fear. And we talked about this many years ago around how people perceive trans people. And we had come to the surmise that it was because of lack of education about trans people, about our bodies, about our lived experiences. But in all actuality, there's been at least 6 or 7 years in between these conversations, and cis people still are not educating themselves. So they're still in fear of the what if. What if she takes my job? What if she takes my man? What if she takes this? What if you educated yourselves? What if you took the opportunity to come into trans spaces and get to know trans bodies and trans people? Not the bodies, but get to know the people first. Then you get to the bodies. Because y'all be getting it wrong.
They know the bodies.
Right, y'all be getting it wrong. So yeah, y'all be getting it wrong. So we got to get to know the trans people first. I was just talking to a colleague who's at a conference on the West Coast, and she was like, "Oh, I'm in this space, and they're not even saying the word trans." They're not even, like acknowledging that there's a trans group here and blase. So I'm like, that's why I wanted you to talk about that national landscape of this work and how people just don't trust Black women. And then when you get to trans women, it's like, who? What?
Oh, another layer.
No, and she said that she had to advocate, and we do, like you mentioned, like we have to go into these spaces knowing that they are cis dominated and actually advocate on behalf of our community back here in Memphis. Like I always say, we raising the bar for the folks here in Memphis when it comes to trans folks, because a lot of times we're left out of the situations when it comes to advocacy, when it comes to taking to the streets, when it comes to speaking to elected officials. So I'm kind of glad that we do have a trans person here in the city who's vying for office, who I'm going to support. I know everybody else is going to definitely support. So I want to give you the stage for mentioning a little bit about what you're running for first,
Sure, yeah.
why you're running, and how people can support you. And then we're going to come to you, Jasmine, Tamesha, and then I'll round us off. So we're talking about challenges here that all of us have faced. Jasmine, you just shared a lot of challenges that you faced on a local, statewide, and a national level. Lena, you're about to enter a race to vie for the city to vote for you. And this is not just any typical race. We have some really big races alongside your race that's going to really turn out a lot of new voters. It's going to turn out a lot of old voters. It's going to turn out a lot of people who we typically don't see come out and vote. So that means the small margins that people typically win by in local elections will not be the case this coming up election in 2026. So what are you thinking are going to be some of the challenges that you're going to face? What are some ways that people can support you in those challenges? And what can we expect from you once you take office?
Sure, absolutely. So let me try to answer those questions, I think, in reverse a little bit. So the reason why I'm running for office, right, is because I have lived in Memphis. I've lived all over Shelby County for basically my entire life, right? I have seen a lot of the challenges that the city has had over the years. I've seen the challenges that Shelby County as a whole has had over the years. A lot of things related to like economic disinvestment, for example, is a huge problem. But we have other issues that exist, such as an obsession with a carceral system, right? Like you cannot solve crime by throwing more police at it. We've been trying that for years and it doesn't work, right? So we have to solve things with innovative solutions.
Some people are throwing the police back or something. I don't know.
I have things I could say about the police departments here, but I will say that.
For you.
But no, it's let Lena be Lena is one of the key themes that we're running with, and I'll just be very.
Say it again.
Yeah, let Lena be Lena, right?
Okay.
And I will just be very direct, and I say what I say, and what I say is that, hey, Floyd Bonner, you need to stop killing people in the jail, please, and thank you. Among other things that we could say.
Yeah, I heard that right. Okay.
1312 for those who know. 1312.
Yeah.
So, so the reason I'm running for office ultimately, right, is threefold, right? Is that we want to transform power into progress. And so what does that mean? Well, there's a lot that the county commission can do, but opts not to do, right? It took a tremendous amount of effort to put in any amount of effort to deal with the problems we have with the Memphis Shelby County schools right now. And what they did is they basically said, okay, hey, with the support of the state, let's get rid of the school board, right? Effectively forcing them all to go through another election cycle. There's a lot more that could be done, right? There are things that can be done around mass transit, for example, that the county can work with the city to actually build an effective mass transit system, right? Because those who have ridden the bus, and I've been a bus rider, not a lot lately, but I've been there in the past, and it's a challenge, right, to get from one place to another. And I remember back when Maddo was a valuable part of the community that was very powerful, right, and was very successful in what it was doing. Well, like in the early 80s.
Okay, when I was in high school. Okay.
Yeah, long time ago. It's been
in the 80s
while.
when she was in high school.
I used to catch the bus to school in the summertime when I used to have to go to like summer classes.
Yeah.
And it was pretty reliable. True enough, there was not enough space on the bus, especially the 50 Poplar.
Yeah.
Coming down there, and it's like 3 schools on Poplar, plus the people who are using it daily for work,
Absolutely,
and stuff.
Yeah.
Like they're decreasing bus routes every
Right,
single
exactly,
day.
exactly.
It's ridiculous. It's ridiculous.
Yeah. And so they're in that transit death spiral right now, and the county commission can help by investing in that. They opt not to do that, right? The county commission can invest more in the school system. They opt not to do that. So there's a lot of power that exists at that level. It's not being used. It's an opportunity for us to transform power into progress. The second thing we try to do, right, is we're going to translate ideas into action. So there's lots of innovative solutions that we can come up with, right? Transit and urban planning happens to be something I'm really interested in, so I can go on and on about that. But for example, if we think about crime, right? The standard approach is let's throw more cops at that problem. And I don't want to act like there isn't a crime issue in Memphis. There is a crime issue in Memphis. But you solve that by investing in communities so people have a way out of poverty, so people have a way out of the traps that they get stuck into with a state that opts not to invest in Shelby County, with right now a federal government that is actively trying to harm the least among us, right? Whether it's
not
trans
trying.
people.
They're
actively doing.
they're
Actively doing. Yes. Stephen Miller has been given power far beyond what he should have, since he looks basically like a serial killer. I said what I said.
Right. So, like, there are a lot of issues that we're facing here, and I'm going to just speak a little bit about the challenges that we face in my sister's house. And it's really that the government, like you said, they don't want to overstep and overreach with these different entities outside of city government, like MATA, that a lot of city Memphis employees, a lot of city civilians, people rely on. A lot of people in the county rely on.
Absolutely.
I remember, like, that was all I had, especially with the way that the police black communities, black and brown communities, and they criminalize folks for, minor infractions that put their license at jeopardy.
Yeah.
And now they don't have a reliable transit system. And I've traveled extensively, and I like to use public transit for some reason. But I can't do that here in Memphis because, one, the bus stops are so far away from my front door. Two, they're not reliable, and then they're not safe. So there needs to be some overstepping and some overreaching.
Yeah.
We are building houses in South Memphis and Orange Mountain and Fraser, and we have a lot of blighted properties that are adjacent to our properties that are owned by the city and the county. And we've asked about acquisition of those properties because we're cutting the grass, because we want to keep the crime down. We want to keep people from pulling up and dumping there, because that's what they're doing. But there's not a lot of oversight. And there's so many different entities within Shelby County government and city government that don't want to overstep and overreach, but they have the powers to do that. So we're hoping that you'll have some strong allies that will be backing you in that process. Of course, you got 3 right here.
Thank you. Yes, I certainly hope so. And when I think about the challenges of making that run for office ultimately, right, like, I come prepared for people to start with the transphobic slurs, right? Like, I am expecting that, right? If the race gets nationalized, which it very well might, because we all know Matt Walsh lives in Nashville, right? And he may take personal offense to another trans person getting elected in Tennessee. That could end up nationalizing the race. That means all kinds of crazy things could happen, right? I am prepared for that, but, like, I also am a little terrified of it, to be perfectly honest. It's scary to think about those sorts of things happening, right? It's scary to think about, I generally don't feel unsafe, right, in most of Shelby County, right? There are some places where I think any of us would feel unsafe going to, and for me, sometimes those are in Germantown. Like I said what I said, right? But when we think about those situations, right, like, I worry that, being a trans person running for office, people are going to be like, cool, now it's open season, right? And that's a bit scary to think about, right? Coming from other people in politics, sure, why not? Come take your best shot at me. Talk about how you're anti-transit. But you're anti-transit? But you anti-transportation? You anti-transforming the city?
There's a lot of new data. I was just in this planning group with the Transgender Law Center maybe 2 days ago, and they were talking about some of the data around surveys that have gone out to just gauge people's awareness of trans people, awareness of the issues that we face. And it's like 58% of Americans are, like, in support of trans people being treated the way they want to be treated. They're in support of trans youth having the health care that they deserve. and that their parents and
Yeah.
and the people who are facilitating these healthcare facilities are not being penalized. So we've talked about almost everything we can talk about. We talked about leadership. We talked about visibility and vitality. We've talked about the joy, and we've also talked about some of the harder things that we have to overcome in order to continue to do this work. And nothing that you do great is going to come without some turmoil, whatever that looks like.
And some level of sacrifice.
Yeah,
Yep.
something like the Illuminati, if you will.
Oh.
You're gonna have to sacrifice a little bit of something.
Yes.
But let's talk about the joy that we experience and what you brought up earlier, Jasmine, about like how we can create these moments of joy, and not even just moments, because I think we created a whole weekend of events for Southern Trans Celebration, which is the inaugural Southern Trans Pride. We've seen what it can do. We've seen how it inspires people outside of Memphis and Tennessee. Let's get into some moments of joy. We created a whole weekend of events. Lena, you were a big part of these events as well. We appreciate all the support that you provide. But why this year? Why Memphis? And why Southern Trans Celebration?
For me, it was like, why not? Why not Memphis? Why not now? Now is the time to start it. One of the trans joys for me for Southern Trans Celebration was just seeing everybody come together from near and far, which made it spectacular. Having the alliance with you two, and Lena, of course, was just spectacular. I mean, like, why not? Why not? Why not right now? And because of the climate, it shows that it's the reason why. This was the reason why, though. So I'm glad that we did it. I'm glad it was kicked off. It was very, very, very nice. If you missed it, you missed a phenomenal event. It was spectacular. I mean, a 3-day event full of joy, full of inspiration, resilience, solidarity. It was all there in their moment, though. So if you missed it, you missed a special thing. But we have one coming up for 2026, so you don't miss that one, though.
Yeah, I think for me, the biggest part of Southern Trans Celebration was Memphis has always been a cornerstone to so many civil rights movements. And we as trans people are experiencing a all-time high when it comes to being discriminated against, when it comes to legislation, and just the lack of love that there is for trans people right now. So Memphis was one of the only choices, right? To have a space that not only pushes back against all this anti-trans bullshit, but also to say, we're going to have a good time as well, right? And what better place than Memphis? I'm like, right? We had an amazing time. What better place?
Even the mayor was asking where we was hosting our events.
I know. And I think it was so special to have watched this Southern Trans Celebration come into fruition, because as 3 Black trans women that work at separate organizations, we were able to come together and have the common goal of moving community forward without anything clouding that. So many times people want to put us against each other, and we were able to really push through that. And then Lena came on board and provided us with amazing sponsorship. Lena is always there to support. So I think that just the feeling of sisterhood was something that started with the planning, but that feeling of family and celebration was something that was perpetuated throughout the whole weekend. Every event was just amazing. And shout out to all the organizations and the people that were here in Memphis to make Southern Trans Celebration such an exceptional event.
Yeah, so I want to come to you, Lena, in just a moment to talk about that sponsorship. But let's shout these people out. Like, let's not just say it that we're going to shoot them out. Let's shoot these people out. So we got Sister Reach was one of our sponsors as well. We had Third Wave Fund was one of our sponsors, Black and Pink. Am I missing anybody?
Game Changing Men, Trans Women of Color Healing Project, Life is Work.
Yes, definitely. The folks from Life is Work came down all the way from beautiful event. And it wouldn't have been possible without our sponsors. And since we have one of our sponsors here, and who has really been pouring into a lot of our organizations throughout the years, why? Why is it important for you to contribute? And why should it be important for other people, and especially in this moment when we're occupied by the National Guard? We have 13 agencies in the city. And that's it's a little overkill for me. We have the looming of the federal government shutdown. And prior to that, there were people who hadn't been paid that worked for federal government here in the city and in the county for months. And now they're going to be faced with the potential of losing, well, not the potential, but of not having food stamps on November the 1st. So why is it important for you to support organizations like We Care Tennessee, Out Memphis, My Sister's House, and doing it under the umbrella of Lena for the 901?
Yeah, so y'all are doing the work, right? Like, that's the thing. Y'all are out there making the change day to day. And as I said before, if you have the privilege to be able to support the people out there doing the work and to support your community, you have the obligation to actually do that, right? There's a lot of people who talk a big game about, oh, you know, I'll support you, you know, I'm here for you, but when the check comes due, right? Like, I'm talking to a lot of the people out there, right? When the check comes due, it's not there, right? Like, they don't show up for you, right? And that is everywhere, right? So individuals, it is absolutely government, right, as well. And that, again, gets back to some of the reasons why I'm running for office, is to make sure that when there's a need for people, that the government shows up, because that is the point of it, right? Is to be of the people, and most especially for the people. So when I have the opportunity, I have the privilege to be able to support the people out there doing the work, protecting the community, doing what needs to be done to build community, then it's my obligation and it is my joy to be able to support your organizations and every organization that is out there actually solving problems, right? As opposed to some of the ones out there that are causing the problems.
Right. And it's very appreciated, being able to do things in the moment when community really needs them, and not having to figure out where we're going to do this from and the budget.
Right.
It's really, really helpful. So we're going to start to close this thing out, y'all. I mean, like, we've really enjoyed this time together. It's been so fun. It's been so fun. But let's talk about our own, each individual orgs. Lena for the 901, We Care Tennessee, Out Memphis, and of course, My Sister's House. I want you to mention your organizations, your websites, include any links where people can follow you on social media. If they need to be able to donate, tell them where they can donate. And then we'll talk a little bit about each one of our events that we're hosting for Trans Awareness Week.
Okay, well, I'll start. I'll wrap it all up in a bow. So I'm Jasmine Tasaki again, founder and executive director of We Care Tennessee here in Memphis, Tennessee.
3 words or 1 word?
We Care Tennessee is spelled We Care TN. And you can find us at wecaretn.org. And you can also find us at We Care Tennessee 1 on Instagram. We're also We Care Tennessee on Facebook. We have a donate option. And we are just an organization, like I said, that specifically supports Black transgender women who do sex work and use drugs, but also those communities around them. So if you know someone that needs some services, reach out to us. If we cannot provide services, we will refer you out or refer those people out to the organizations that can serve them. As you all know, we have Transgender Awareness Week coming up, and there are a lot of activities going on. I'll go ahead and touch on our activity that we are hosting is the 8th annual Legacy Awards, where we honor Black and brown trans people who have made an impact in community in Memphis and outside of Memphis. Those individuals are living, and some have transitioned out of physical life, but will live on eternally for us in our memories and in our hearts. We invite you to join us. That's November 15th. And I will turn it over to Tamesha Prewitt from Out Memphis.
Hey everyone, again, I'm Tamesha K, the Trans Service Manager at Memphis. Join us November the 13th for our game night happening at 892 South Cooper Street from 6 to 8 p.m. for game night as the kickoff to Trans Awareness Week, and then we're going to be back again November 17th, 325 Wagner Street at the number 2 Vance, where we'll be doing our I Am Trans storytelling events. You can also find us on via Facebook, via Instagram, and our website at www.outmemphis.org. And I'm going to kick it off to Kayla.
Thank you so much, doll. So, my sister's house, we're the org that builds those houses for the trans, non-binary, and cis folks here in the South in Memphis, Tennessee. We also provide food and clothes pantries for folks. We provide utility assistance. We do our hot meals at our community space at the corner of Pillow and Ethelyn, which is where our tiny houses are located. We currently have a fundraiser that we're doing for our Corner Lot project. We're also doing a fundraiser for our winter clothes drive. And you can find out more information by texting the number 26989 texting the word MSH to the number 26989. And that way you can get it linked up to our donating link, our volunteer link, as well as all of the different campaigns that we have going on to support people, not just here in Memphis, but really inspiring people throughout the nation around affordable housing and how that's connected to food justice and how that's connected to reproductive justice and how it's connected to everything. You really can't do much in a city, in the world, without having somewhere stable to call home. So that's why our work is really important. We're hosting this year the T-Door event, which is something that is really a special day. As we have lost a few people here in the city of Memphis this year, and we're looking forward to not having to add any more names to the list thus far this year, but honoring those lives that never really got the true commemoration of life. A lot of times for trans folks, and we can all vouch, is that we don't get the proper burials, we don't get the proper, memorial services and things like that. But we're going to make sure that we memorialize folks in a very generative way. On the 20th, it's going to be at the Old Junior League. What's the address?
It's 3475 Central Avenue.
3475 Central Avenue. What you call it? The Trans Resource Center?
No, it's called the Community Resource Center.
Okay. All right. So, Lena, what do you got going on? And let people know about your website, where they can donate, where they can volunteer and support your campaign.
Yeah, absolutely. So, as I said before, Lena Chipman, pronouns are they and she, and I am a candidate in the Democratic primary for County Commission District 13. You can find me at lenachipman.com or Lena Leads Out Loud on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, and Blue Sky, which is new because we don't go and hang out with the Nazi who's choking South Memphis with his giant computer. Said what I said. But you can go to the website, you can make a donation, you can volunteer. Donations help us get the message out, but what they also help us do is they help us do things for the community, right? Because this is a campaign that's really driven by helping the community. It's not driven by kind of the traditional, give me money, and I will use that to go ask you to get more money, right? Like that kind of traditional approach. No, what we do is we use that, and we use that to have community events. We use that to send our message out and to have more of those events. So the more that people contribute, the more we can do things that are helpful for the community as a whole. The Trans Community Dinner, second Wednesday of every month, is November 12th, so it's kind of right on that front edge of the Trans Week of Awareness. That is not a political event. So if you're thinking, wow, that Lena, she's going to hit me up for money if I show up to that. No, we don't do that. No, it's just about trans joy. It's going to be holiday classics. So we're going to have turkey, we're going to have stuffing. We've got a green bean casserole that someone's doing that's going to be really lovely. So we also have vegetarian and vegan options as well. So it's going to be really delightful, and you don't have to be wanting to get involved in politics at all for that, right? Yeah. Like you can just show up there, have dinner, have community with your fellow trans and gender expansive people. You do not have to be out to attend that, right? So we have people who are not out.
No pictures will be taken.
Yeah, no pictures are taken, right? So it's intended to be an extremely safe environment. So that is at Playhouse on the Square, 6 to 8 p.m., November 12th, and it is on the second Wednesday of every month, so we'll have it in December as well. And again, if you haven't registered to vote, go register to vote. They probably don't want me to say this, but I'll say it anyway. In Shelby County, they do not check gender markers when checking ID. They're not supposed to do that, right? So check those gender markers, right? So you can register to vote. You can put whatever you want into that 6 field because they don't really care about that when they are going to verify your ID. So please, 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 please register to vote, because if you don't vote, then you've lost your voice for structural power in Shelby County. And if you want to see people fight back against ICE, if you want to see people fight back against community disinvestment, if you want to see people fight for the future of Shelby County and for trans people in Shelby County, non-binary people in Shelby County, everybody in Shelby County, then you need to register to vote and ideally support me in my campaign for District 13.
Absolutely. And I just want to add and offer. Oh, yeah, I saw it. We ain't worry about that.
Okay.
I just wanted to add and offer the suggestion that something that, I've worked on other campaigns for people in the past, and they've done like voter registration drives and, found individuals who will come out to different communities who may be, challenged by transportation issues or whatever. They may not even be able to actually go out and put a traditional ballot in. They might need to mail their ballot in.
Yep.
So I think those are opportunities for your volunteers that'll be signing up to be able to come out and help with those individual voter registration drives, because that's what's really going to make the difference, I think, in this election are the people who've never voted and the people who seldomly vote.
Yeah, the people I want to talk to, the people I'm going to talk to are the people who no one is talking to, right? The people who are left behind, dispossessed, ignored, right? And those are the people that I want to talk to because I want to be your voice. I want to be the person who is there speaking for you to make sure you're centered in those spaces that is so hard to get that structural power.
Yeah.
The moral luck of the universe bends only when all of us are pulling on it in the ways that we can, right?
Absolutely.
So every time we have an opportunity to do that, we have an obligation to do so. So yeah, one of the things we want to do is making sure that we're helping people get to the polls, helping people get registered to vote. Whether you vote for me or not, I don't care. I want to make sure that you're voting.
We're going to get you there and make sure you're ready to exercise your rights.
Absolutely.
People. So as we close out, we're going to make sure that we include all the links that everybody has talked about for We Care, Out Memphis, My Sister's House, Lena for the 901, and as well as for your campaign that you're about to launch. And we're definitely wanting to make sure that people go to our website. Don't just look at this podcast and look at it going across the screen. Go to our websites, peruse some things, click some things, get involved with our community initiatives, whether that's purchasing a ticket. The Legacy Award show is free, but if you want to go onto their Blue app and make a donation so that people can really enjoy themselves, do that. Do just that. But we definitely need you to get involved and stay involved, because the next 3 years are going to be really tumultuous, not just for the trans community, not just for the immigrant community, but it's going to be really tough for everybody who's living within the city limits and the Shelby County limits, because we have a true clusterfuck when it comes to these people who we've elected or we haven't elected to run this country, run our city, run our state, because we haven't mentioned Governor Bill Lee. And y'all might cut that out, but he's another problem. And we in 2026, we have to get out and vote, people. Please, because it's going to be a crucial year for Tennessee. I don't know if you know it yet, but it really is going to be a really crucial year. You think what's happening on the federal level is going to affect us. What we do or do not do at this next election is really going to turn the tides. And they're already turned against our favor. So if we don't do what we need to do and really elect some local people to the state level, people who know Memphis and who are true and blue Memphis through and through, then we're not going to really survive beyond these 4 years. A lot of us are going to meet our demise. A lot of us are going to be lacking health care. A lot of us are going to be lacking the nutrients that we need to be able to go to work and even keep our housing, because those are requirements for people now too. Yeah. There's going to be a lot of hardships if we don't get out and exercise our right to vote. But yeah, I'm not going to take too much of your time. We want to thank the headliners for allowing us to take over this space. If anybody has any last thoughts, this is the time to do it. They've already given us the timer that says, we got to go and pay some bills.
No, I think that's it for me. I would just also want to echo, thank you, headliners. Thank you, Memphis, for your support. Thank you to all surrounding areas that supported the Southern Trans Celebration. And I'm looking forward to the next takeover.
Yeah. Yes, I'm going to just ditto what she said. Just get out and do your parts, though. And we thank you, headliners. We thank you, Memphis, and we love you.
Thank you, headliners. Thank you, Memphis. Thank you, all of you.
Thank
Going out there doing the work,
yes.
right?
And
So
good
we
luck
will-
on the campaign.
Exactly.
Thank you so much.
Thank
you
y'all.
so much.
Until next
Yeah.
time.
Until next time, y'all. We'll see y'all in the spring, babes.
Not in the spring.
And cut. That's a wrap.